Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
For the next couple of hours, join us as we explore the imagination, the intuition, the inner realm, the inner world, winding our way into our discovery of the fifth dimension. What it is, what it means, how it looks, how it feels. Discovering new, broader perspectives of life as humans on the earthly plane. A journey within, a journey into a new, yet ancient frontier. A journey into the heart. The journey of our lifetimes. So please allow reason to coexist with your intuition, with inspiration, with your imagination, and join me in the discovery of more and more of ourselves. I promise you a journey unlike any other. Let us together explore the mystical, the amazing, the magnificent world of heart-based living in the fifth dimension. Welcome to the Consciousness Evolution Hour with your host, Mollica. And a fond and lovely good evening to all of you. I'm Philip Mollica, and you're listening to the Consciousness Evolution Hour, proudly presented as part of the Rob Gauthier's Enlightenment Evolution Network, which shows at least one show 7 days a week for your enlightenment pleasure. I am very pleased to be here. This is a very exciting show. I'm glad to be back live. I understand there was a glitch with the archive that was supposed to play last week. I fixed that, so even though it didn't play live at the time it was supposed to, you can go back and listen to the archive recording from June with my sister Maria Mollica. That was a very good show, but tonight we've got a lot to talk about, and I've got some great stories and some great things to share with you, some for the first time. So I'm happy to be here. A quick shout out to the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 Facebook group. Hello, everyone. Lovely to have you along. And if you're on Facebook, get over to look up Consciousness Evolution 2.0. It's a wonderful group. We just passed 3,000 members. 3,000 in that group. And that's less than a year ago, we had 300. So what does that tell you, folks? That tells you that things are changing rapidly. People are awakening. They're looking for answers. And hopefully we'll give you some ideas on things that you can look at within your own life and within yourself to help find those answers. I'm going to be here to guide you along, but I'm always going to send you back to you, because that's where the pay dirt is. That's the money shot. Is when you begin to explore your own consciousness, your own psyche, to know yourself as a unique aspect of all that is, expressing itself uniquely as you. No one else can do you. And when you express yourself as all that is, express yourself authentically with the spark that is you, the spark of all that is, the spark of Source, the spark of God that is you, and you begin to express yourself authentically, you honor the universe, you honor God, you honor all that is by being who you are. So I'll let you think about that for a few minutes. What we're going to do is the lovely Karen Newman has proffered some announcements for this week. We're going to run those. It's about 8 minutes. and that'll give time for folks to find us and get logged in here and comfortable. So put on the speakers, go get yourself a nice glass of wine or a beer or a glass of water or cranberry and a nice little brownie. Either one will do, either type that you happen to have with you. And we'll run these announcements. We're going to come back. And once again, I'm Philip Mollica. This is the Consciousness Evolution Hour. 8 minutes of announcements, folks. I've got some great stories, very, very exciting things to share with you. So I'll be back in a moment.
Hi, this is Karen Newman from the show About Oneness. And here's what's coming up the week starting on Monday, October 13th, until Sunday, October 19th, on the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 and 2. Simply put, Rob Gauthier, founder of the EEN and the host of the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, has put together the greatest metaphysical radio network ever. 7 days a week, we have shows that will aid you on your path to enlightenment, evolution, and ascension. On EEN1, Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Heart to Heart Talk Radio with your host, Daniel Scranton. Join Daniel and his featured guests discussing a wide variety of metaphysical topics. Daniel channels the Creators, the Hathors, Ophelia the Fairy, and Archangel Michael, and the latest, the Unicorn Collective. Daniel and his guests will take phone calls and questions, and it's sure to generate high-frequency discussions. You can find more about Daniel at his website, danielscranton.com, and also on Facebook. Go to the Events tab on Daniel's website to learn more about Daniel's upcoming events. This week, Daniel's guest will be the lovely channel, Allison Hamilton. On Tuesday at noon, also 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please join hosts Megan Crandallmeyer and Rachel Archelaus for Radio Inspiration, Expression, and Abundance for their show, Soulfulpreneur. Spiritual business specialists Rachel and Megan will bring you inspiring conversations with people who are living their soul purpose. Frequent guests include psychic mediums, channelers, coaches, artists, and authors. They end every show with psychic readings and business coaching. Your questions about your spiritual business or life purpose journey are welcome. Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, is the show that started it all, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour with host Rob Gauthier. Rob channels Treb on the first Wednesday of each month and will take callers' questions. On the third Wednesday, we'll have special guests such as guest channelers and other metaphysical teachers. The other 2 Wednesdays are freestyle call-in shows to discuss whatever callers have on their minds. Tune in to Rob on Wednesday nights, and you can also find him at TrebChanneling.com and on Facebook at the Enlightenment Evolution Network group page. Rob has 2 special announcements. Starting on Sundays from September 14th, TrebChanneling.com offers hour-long meditation classes. Please go to TrebChanneling.com to register. Another project near and dear to Rob's heart is the much-anticipated sequel to the groundbreaking film Tuning In, called Tuning In Now. The movie will feature channelers such as Daryl Anka and Bashar, Lee Carroll and Cryon, and our very own Rob Gauthier and Treb. Tuning In Now will explore the amazing work of today's top channels and how they are helping to awaken the consciousness of the planet. The film is in fundraising stages at the moment, and with a contribution for as little as $15 all the way up to $50, you can help make sure that this film is made. Please go to Indiegogo.com, that's Indie, I-N-D-I-E, Gogo, G-O-G-O.com, and type in the search Tuning In Now 2. That's the number 2. Tuning In Now with the number 2. On Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, join host Philip Mollica with the Consciousness Evolution Hour. Join Philip and his special guests and co-hosts as they discuss the shift, ascension, timelines, metaphysical concepts, and the 5th dimension. Find Philip at the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group page on Facebook and on YouTube. On Friday, The Earth Experience with your host, Kalina Angel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. The Earth Experience explores our soul's expansion through our human experience on Earth. Kalina will help you to navigate and expand through the exciting confusions that we are manifesting as new 5D beings. On Sundays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, is my show About Oneness. About Oneness is a weekly radio program focused on celebrating the ongoing conscious awakening of our planet and our realization of oneness. I'm an American originally from Charleston, South Carolina, now living in Europe, The Hague, the Netherlands. I'm an integrated channel, medium, Reiki master, and metaphysical teacher. I have a varied and diverse background, including that of being a singer, dancer, writer, as well as working in the sport, nutrition, and fitness world. As a channel, I bring forward the information of my non-physical guides called Theos, whose message is always that of oneness and unconditional love. This show for me is about integrating all of my experiences and following my highest excitement, which is tapping into the truth of the universe. If you would like to find more about me and my show and my upcoming guests, as well as see many videos and channelings and teachings, you can go to aboutoneness.com. On the Enlightenment Evolution Network, too, join host Victoria Vives every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, hosting Earth Sky People Radio, your bridge between heaven and earth. Subjects will include planet Earth becoming part of an intergalactic society, star seeds and extraterrestrial life, living in oneness with one another, with Mother Earth, and with life beyond the Earth, the Interstellar Alliance, also known as the Galactic Federation of Life, music, frequency and sound healing, question and answer interviews, shamanism, ancestral wisdom and the star nations, self-sustainative and regenerative living, and much, much more. Her guest this week will be Greg Alexander. Victoria and Greg will be offering live chakra tuning during the show. Please go to victoriavives.com/radio, where she has details about the show and the network. On Saturday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, the Pied Piper and Texas Rebel hosting the show Disclosure Now. Disclosure Now is the On the Edge of Our Seats show that covers all topics of disclosure, from the world's most famous and obscure UFO cases. Pied Piper started his journey in Michigan in 1993 as a preteen seeing Bigfoot and never could get enough, and investigating all things paranormal. Texas Rebel is a wild Texas man who loves the same journey and has studied these things for years. Join them as they cover all things in the human experience that just cannot be answered by anyone. On Sundays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, starting on November 22nd, is The Resonance Intention, hosted by Neil and Sol Gar. The Resonance Intention show is dedicated to all things frequency and vibration. They will showcase conscious musicians who infuse frequency into their music and have set out to uplift and raise the vibration of humanity through their music. They will have in-depth conversations with various artists about their passion, purpose, and personal journey that led them to where they are now. Additionally, they will routinely have guests on the topics of free energy, technology, and other quantum modalities, technologies that are coming into existence now. The Resonance Intention is a platform for artists, musicians, and inventors to increase awareness of their personal approach in order to contribute to the paradigm shift that we are currently within. And remember, you never have to miss any show from the Enlightenment Evolution Network 1 or 2. All shows are available to listen to again immediately after they air on playback. All right, back to the show.
And once again, a thank you to Karen Newman for putting together those announcements for us. What a great pile of shows every day of the week. More than once a day, many days, and we're going to be filling that up. And I heard some chatter that we're going to be looking at an Enlightenment Evolution Network 3. So this is just going to keep growing and booming and getting bigger and stronger. And folks, I'm so glad to have you along with me. I'm having the time of my life. This is so exciting. Everything as it falls in place. Everything as it continues to expand and new ideas, new conclusions. Having an amazing time of this. I have a great deal of thanks to give to my partner, Debbie Jacobson, who's been with me since June. And I'm going to have some more stories to tell about our time together, but it really has been an incredible experience of amazing synchronicity and expansion and growth and love, and meeting at such a high level and frequency and not having to go through the 3D aspects of a relationship has been an astounding journey. So we'll talk some more about that. That's something new that we're going to be talking about a lot, is relationships and what's possible, because everyone is interested in relationships. So we'll get back to that, but I do have a story to tell you. Very interesting story. So I'm not sequestered or sheltered by any means. I do my share of getting out. However, I don't often get an opportunity to really, outside of my radio program, to really express my opinion, express who I am, other than just being, me. But today I had quite an opportunity to do so, and you'll pardon me if I cough or sniffle during the show. I'm starting to feel better, but I've been sick for the last week, and I went to the doctor's office today because I needed some antibiotics. It was time. I'd done my best with this illness, and I know I took this on for various reasons, probably a lot of different reasons, but it was time to go see a doctor and get a prescription for antibiotic. So that's where the story begins. So this is a doctor I'd seen years and years ago, maybe 20 years ago, before my last family doctor, and then I haven't really had a family doctor in, probably 5 years. Probably since I awakened, I don't think I've been, but a couple of times. And the couple of times I went before were to a 24-hour clinic. But I knew this gentleman. He actually lives in my subdivision, this doctor, and he's real close. He's just 5 minutes away. So I thought, well, it's good to have that relationship. Should I need a personal physician and for whatever reference and whatever. So I made an appointment, and they were happy to bring me in, and I had an appointment for 1 o'clock today. So I went in and sat down in the waiting room and filled out my paperwork. And as I was there, a young girl came in, about 14 or 15, and signed in, and a minute or two later, her father came in, and probably a 40-year-old gentleman, sat down, and we were across from me, and he immediately asked me if I'd gotten a deer yet, as I was wearing my camouflage pants. And I thought about for a minute saying nothing. I said, I'm not really a hunter. But I asked him if he had gotten any, because it's deer season here in Michigan. It's bow season, and we're just moving into gun season here shortly. And he says, no. He says, my shoulder's bad, and I can't really do a compound bow. And then another guy there suggested that he get a crossbow. He said, well, that's not really hunting, He says, I would do it, but, it's kind of like cheating. And I said, well, if you use what you kill, then it's perfectly acceptable. We don't waste. A lot of people here in Michigan, they don't just hunt for sport. They actually, live on venison, and or at least it's a portion of their diet. So from my standpoint, it's a perfectly acceptable, hunting is a perfectly acceptable idea here in Michigan for deer. I don't have any problem with that at all. It's just the nature of our state here, and again, most of the people I know that hunt use what they get. So no complaints there. So I had said that, and I don't know how he got on it, but he started talking about not necessarily to me, but in general, he started talking about communists, which of course got my attention very quickly, and how communism is ruining the country, and he just started going off, and I'm listening to this guy, and of course my first inclination is just to ignore him. But he was sitting right across from me, and he was at times speaking to me directly, and he suggested that a number of different things that were ruining our country, and communism, and Democrats also. Democrats were evil, not just bad, but they were evil, and that anyone who thought that it was okay to murder their unborn child by abortion was evil and would go to hell. And I'm sitting there, and he's continuing to rattle off this offensive diatribe. And when he had spoken about the communism, I said, well, what we really need is no borders, and we need to start acting as one world. And he said, oh, that's the worst thing that we could do. That would just lead to more chaos and, third world and this and that. And then he proceeded to tell me again about all the people who were evil in the world. And it went from Democrats to communists to pro-abortion people, and then he said, and homosexuals and lesbians are evil too. If you look at the Bible, we're not even supposed to sit at a table with them. And that was it. That was all I could take, folks. And I said, that is complete and utter bullshit. And the moment I said it, the door flew open from the waiting room, and they called my name, and I headed straight for the door. So I go into the room, and I've got the gentleman who was checking me in for the doctor, and he weighed me. He was real fun and jovial and nice, and he said, how you doing? And I said, well, pretty good. I said, I just had an interesting conversation with a right-wing nut in your waiting room. He says, oh, yeah. He says, we get a lot of them out here. We're out in Clarkston, and even beyond Clarkston. Not that it's backwoods, but, and no offense to anybody. But it was funny because then he took my temperature. My temperature was normal. He took my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was 160 over 100. And he says, oh, that's pretty high. And I said, holy shit. I said, my blood pressure is never that. It's usually 120 over 80. He said, oh, I'll bet it was your conversation in the waiting room. And I said, I'll bet you're right. Set my blood pressure right up. But I wasn't upset at that point. I really was quite amused. And I had tried to engage the man a couple of times and just lead him gently, but I could see quickly that wasn't going to happen. He was well practiced in his diatribe. I could tell he'd had this conversation, an argument, many times before. But the man that checked me in at the doctor's office was chuckling about it, and we laughed a little bit, and my blood pressure was up, and I said, no, it's really unusual. So anyway, the doctor came in and examined me and blah, blah, blah. And Doc said before he left, he says, I want him to come back and double check your blood pressure. I said, okay. So he came back. I had 2 minutes. I sat back and I closed my eyes and I cupped my hands and I took a deep breath. And I did that about 2 more times. And by that time, the gentleman was coming back in the room, chuckling again. He slapped the blood pressure thing on me, took my blood pressure again, and it was 120/80. And we both laughed, and then I headed out of there. So it was just interesting to me that I really had an opportunity to truly come in contact, because I don't generally, but with somebody whose beliefs are just so far askew, so far out of alignment with who they really are. And I don't begrudge him his journey, nor do I wish to talk him out of it. But it was very interesting to me that I got firsthand, got to see someone who truly held those beliefs, heaven and hell, good and evil, God being something outside of us, that we will go to hell if we're not good or if we don't believe in God or Jesus. And I know there's a lot of people like that. But it was so interesting to me to come in such direct contact with one because, as I said, I generally don't. A lot of that has to do with where I carry myself, because we send out information in advance of ourselves. There's a under-the-radar communication that happens between all of us all the time, whether we say the words or not. So as I work through my day, my interactions with people, they're generally very high-level interactions. And that's not to say that this one wasn't a high-level interaction. In a way, it actually was, and I knew it was very purposeful that I had gotten to see this firsthand and up close and in such an intimate moment. There was great purpose in me seeing that. And I didn't think that there was anything wrong with me. You know, that's the question a lot of spiritual people ask themselves when something like that happens, or they have something bad happen. Why me? How could this happen to me? And the idea is that instead of asking what's wrong with something, ask what's right about it. Ask yourself how it is serving you to have some sort of experience. A lot of times they're to show us all the time, really, because everything is a reflection. It's there to show us something about ourselves. Because every interaction like that, every single time we have any kind of experience, it's a setup. It's set up behind the scenes. We all play our roles, including my nutty right-wing conservative. You know, somewhere, someplace, I set up that interaction with him. Isn't that an interesting thought? So instead of asking what's wrong, ask what's right. Why would you have an experience? It's to show you something about yourself. Now, I definitely got pinged by this guy. There's no doubt about it. And that's unusual for me. Give me a moment. I definitely got pinged by this guy. And it wasn't just me. I know the other people in there were getting pinged by him too. There was a woman in her 40s that was proclaiming her distaste for everything he was saying, and she said something to me on my way out too. She happened to be in the inside waiting room, and she said something about, oh, he's still out there. He's found someone else to talk to. And I said, no, it's all good. Just so happened his daughter was sitting next to that one when she said it. She was on the inside waiting room as well. And I wondered how she felt about it. She seemed kind of nonplussed when we were sitting in the outer waiting room when it happened with me. She was kind of just not paying attention, it seemed. But I assume she just has heard it over and over again and probably has learned to tune it out, and especially in a public arena, to be the daughter of someone who was expressing such discredit to the human race. I imagine she was quite uncomfortable. And I felt for her, but I also know that we all choose where we come in this world. We choose our parents, and our parents choose our children. And that's all a setup for us to have a particular experience. So I don't feel pity or sorry for anyone in that position. We've all been in positions that were challenging and difficult, and we often find out who we are by finding out who we are not. So in that sense, everyone's journey is divine. No matter what it looks like on the outside, it's a divine setup, a divine journey. If you think in terms of, we'll use Seth's Framework 1 and Framework 2, Seth being the entity that was channeled through Jane Roberts. I do quite a bit of study of Seth. And Seth describes Framework 1 as being our outer created reality and Framework 2 as being non-physical. So we could just as well say physical and non-physical. Either one works. So physical would be Framework 1 and non-physical would be Framework 2. And the interesting thing that we read the other night from Seth was the idea that our outer created reality is completely engulfed in consciousness. In other words, it is couched within non-physical. And then along those same lines, we were watching the latest Bashar transmission last night. And Bashar again talked about how who we really are the beings that exist in non-physical, those conscious beings that exist in non-physical. And that this outer created reality is those people dreaming. So it's us in non-physical dreaming our existence here. How's that for a paradox? So if you think of it in those terms, everything is a setup. It's all a setup. And then think of it in terms of us and who we are. Okay, if we're these incredible consciousnesses in non-physical, dreaming ourselves into physical in complete forgetfulness of who we are, of our true reality, and then undertaking this for thousands and thousands of years, for eons, to discover more about ourselves. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that amazing? Doesn't that make you feel the power that's within you? Does it make you feel the mastery that you are? To undertake this. To set aside your larger reality and to focus a portion of yourself into this physical reality in complete forgetfulness, only to discover more of who you are. What being could do that? Can you imagine the tearing away that must happen when you were born? I think we all can, because we carry that in ourselves. It's a cellular memory of us tearing away from source to become physical in forgetfulness, to forget everything that we know about ourselves, only to rediscover it again. But for thousands of years, we didn't have a shift like we have now. We did the physical journey. Every one of us has been everything. We've been men and women. We've been all different races, rich, poor, destitute, billionaires, all races, all countries. We've all done it all for thousands and thousands of years. We've had experiences in complete forgetfulness. We've had lives where we lived till we were 80. We've had lives where we lived not at all. We've had lives where we died in childhood. Thousands of incarnations, all to have an overall experience of discovering who we are. But now, all of a sudden, we are in this incredible time. Oh, do you know why we have to incarnate in order to have these experiences? Because in non-physical, we can't experience change. It takes time, space to have that experience of change. Because we can instantly become or manifest anything in non-physical, but we cannot have the experience of change in non-physical. So that's why we have these experiences. That's why we incarnate on Earth. And so we've had these thousands of lives as all different types of beings, men and women, and all of this is part of our greater self. And now we've come, and we passed 2012. December of 2012, we crossed the threshold. Depending on your perspective of it, you could say we entered fourth density then, or fifth dimension. Or you could say it's available to us, or I hear it different ways from different people. That's all perspective. But the idea is that we upgraded when we passed that threshold. We upgraded. We became more. We had more available to us as options. And it is an option. Free will does reign. Everyone gets to choose how they're going to experience. But it is something that's happening. And it's not just us, it's our Earth. In fact, our Earth is the reason why it's happening to us, because we are of the Earth, and the Earth is changing, and the solar system is changing. Everything's getting upgraded. So we have options now. Options that we didn't have before. Options to become more than we were. I loved how Treb put it. We were 8 ounces of consciousness in an 8-ounce bottle. And now we're a 16-ounce bottle with 8 ounces of consciousness. And that means we have room for more consciousness. So all of us that are involved in the shift, what we're really doing is we're bringing more of us bare into physical. We're remembering who we are. we're becoming more. You can say the veil is thinned, but I had a thought yesterday, because I had always thought of it in those terms, that we're becoming more consciousness, we're bringing more consciousness in. And I realized that actually that's a little backwards, because what I find myself doing as I go through this, and I do find myself shifting very rapidly and with great acceleration. But what I found is that it's not that I don't feel more focused into physical reality. I feel like I'm backing off a little bit from physical reality. In other words, it's not getting quite the attention from me that it used to get. Now, isn't that interesting? It's almost like easing out a little bit, like backing out from a picture. If you can imagine a painting, and if you have your nose up against that painting, all you can see is what's right in front of you. And as you move yourself away from the painting a little bit, now you can start to see in your peripheral vision a little bit of what's around you. And the more you ease out, now you're starting to get a sense of the frame of the picture along with the picture. And as you ease out more, you begin to see that what you thought was very limited is in fact a painting in a frame. And you realize that you're much bigger than that frame. And this is what's been happening to me. I feel like I'm just withdrawing a bit. Yesterday I had the strangest sensation all day of just not being completely here. It was a little disconcerting just because I wasn't used to it, but it wasn't a bad thing. It just felt like I was somewhere else, like the majority of my attention was somewhere else, being very busy doing something, and I was just giving enough attention to my physical outer created reality to get through and do the things that I needed to do, but I wasn't really all there. And that's when this occurred to me. It's like maybe this is what it feels like as we continue to shift, or at least for me. Maybe I just realize I'm easing back away from the painting a little more. It doesn't require all that much attention as I thought it did. You know, how much do we run around thinking that nothing gets done if we don't do it ourselves? That's a belief many people hold. Give me a moment. That's a big belief many people hold, that if they don't take care of every little thing, that somehow it will get away from them. And I'm here to tell you something. I want to tell you something about all that is and the universe that you live in and this outer created reality. I told you before that our outer created reality, our physical reality, our framework one, is engulfed, is couched in consciousness. It is engulfed in non-physical. In other words, it springs from, but is not apart from non-physical. It is surrounded by non-physical, which is what gives it form, which is what gives it meaning, which is what gives it life in that sense. Everything in our outer created reality has its source in non-physical. Everything. Every object. Every noun and verb. Every person. Everything. Every animal. Our very world. Our very earth itself has its source in non-physical and is continuously replenished with energy in every moment. We think of ourselves as being here in these bodies, being here, living our lives like we're born, we die, and we think that the time duration in between is all there is. And what we don't realize is that we phase in and out of physical reality all the time. We actually come in waves. Our energy comes in waves. I remember Seth talking about that, and I remember thinking that, there are times where I feel really sharply focused in waking day, what we call our waking time, and there are times that I'm not. And even Seth said that there are times where our signal is not as great for many various reasons. But the more I think about it, the more I think about the idea that this is the waking dream, the more I'm having that experience of it. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you is, if you think that you have to do everything yourself, know something. That the universe favors you. The universe is not neutral. Some people, it's easy to get confused because some people think, life is neutral in that sense. In other words, nothing has any meaning until you assign meaning to it. And in order to even assign meaning to something, you have to first become aware of it. So as we become aware in our physical life, we assign meaning to things. It's kind of what we do as humans. We judge. We assign negative and positive ideas to all kinds of different things, because that's how we figure out what our preferences are. The universe itself is not neutral. The universe favors us. It favors whatever it is that is in service to us as we have a physical life experience. Now, we talked about in our group the other night, by the way, we had another wonderful group the other night at LA Cafe in Clarkston. We have live meetup there, Consciousness Evolution group. Live meetup in Clarkston, Michigan, LA Cafe. 27 people attended Tuesday night. It's our second such meeting like that. It was amazing and wonderful. And I'm telling you, the people that are coming are bringing their A game. These are people who are tuned in and turned on, tapped in. Everyone there brought their A game and made it such a beautiful experience for everyone who was there. And we went around and everyone had stories to tell about seeming miracles in their lives. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And a lot of people are really getting this, folks. a lot of people are really getting this information and they're really putting it to bear in their life. And I looked around and I just thought, here in Michigan, in this tiny little burg, and we have people come from all over. We have people come 2 hours who drive in just to attend this meeting, or more. But we had an amazing group there. And one of the things that we talked about was, a question that came up was about manifestation, and the person asking the question specifically asked about the red BMW. And what we talked about when they brought that up, the question was, well, what does it take to manifest that? And what I shared with them, and what I'll share with you now, is that a lot of these teachings and teachers, and I love them all, and I appreciate everything that they're doing, are having manifestation classes, abundance classes. And I understand the purpose of it because there's a lot of people doing what we are doing, and they're really struggling financially. But when the question came up about the red BMW and the $1 million, I said, well, the real question to ask is it relevant to your experience? Because unless a red BMW and $1 million is relevant to the experience that you agreed to have coming to Earth and having a life experience, you're not going to have them. And everything in your life is going to be relative to how relevant it is to your overall experience. Now, you came here, every single one of us came here to have a particular experience. Now, from the oversoul level, at the oversoul level, there are literally thousands of personalities, if you will, that report back to the oversoul, if you will, who have 1,000 different life experiences. And it may not be relevant for you to have the red BMW and the $1 million. That's not to say you couldn't get it. But if it wasn't relevant for you, even if you did get it, it wouldn't last. It would be gone just as fast. And so I have just a little bit of trouble with some of the teachings that suggest that you can have anything you want, and people think, well, I want the big house, and I want the nice car, and I want the $1 million. Oh, and the relationship thing. Yes, that was the other thing, was the relationship. And they forget, or they haven't considered, about what's relevant to their life and what's relevant to the experience that they agreed to come here to have. But there's only one way to find out what's relevant for you, and that's to get yourself into alignment with yourself. How do you get into alignment with yourself? Here's 4 words that will help you, thanks to my dear Debbie. Let it be obvious. Just let it be obvious. If you're trying to do something and it's a struggle and you have to try and it's hard, guess what? It's not relevant for you. Let it be obvious. You will be led perfectly. If you're struggling at anything, let it be obvious. We did not come here to struggle. We did not come here to suffer. We did not come here for sacrifice. That's all bullocks. Those ideas, those concepts are bullshit. That's not what we came here for. What we came here for is to find alignment with ourselves and discover more of who we are. Now, many of us have been through many types of challenging experiences. But we've been there, and we've done that. And now it's time for all of us to remember who we are. And I'll use all of us lightly, because I wouldn't want to steal anybody's experience from them if they want to face more challenges. But what I'm telling you here now that you're listening to my show, telling you that we have options now that we didn't have before. You can be led perfectly, easily into the experience that is relevant, easy, and peaceful for you. You can choose that now. Remember, the universe has been in your favor. It will support you. You just have to get into alignment with yourself. How do you get into alignment with yourself? By noticing your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and using them as the key to tell you when you have a belief about something that's out of alignment. Because if you feel bad or upset or angry or mad, that is a red flag. That's your cue that this is something for you to look closely at. So when you back up a little bit from the anger, frustration, whatever it is that you're feeling in the moment, when you back up from the emotion, from the thought, from the feeling that gave you the red flag, and then look at the belief that's behind it. What is the belief behind that thought, feeling, or emotion that doesn't feel right? And this is the work we're going to be doing. Because I'm telling you, folks, if you want to do this, everything that is wobbling about you is going to come up. Every single thing that is wobbling about your alignment with yourself is going to come up, and it's going to ask you to look at it. And if you don't look at it, and if you push it away, it's going to get louder and louder and louder until you are forced to look at it. You know why? Because we can't take it with us. Because they're lower density vibrations. You can't take them with you. So if you're on this path, you're going to get a lot. You're going to get it all the time. But the good news is, the more you look at the beliefs and release them, the less you will have that you've got to deal with as you move forward. I don't want to say before you move forward, as you move forward, because we are always moving forward. Nothing will stop that. All you'll do is make it take a little longer. Because every time you fight against, every time you push against something, every time you hold something in, every time you push something away instead of looking at it, you then have to create more time to give you an opportunity to create another circumstance or situation that will then present it to you in an even more in-your-face manner until it gets so loud that you can no longer ignore it. Now, you can make this process very easy and pleasant. It's all in how you look at it. First thing that you can do is let it all go. Just let it go. Let go of the anger. You do that by looking at the beliefs. What is the belief that you're holding that's making you feel out of alignment? Let go of it. Once you discover what that belief is, let go of it. Because when you get to that belief, what you got to ask yourself is, what is it about this belief? What would I have to believe is true in order for me to feel this way? Oftentimes, it'll be something that's wrong with you, that you believe is wrong with you. And the moment you let it go, you'll understand that it can never be true. All those terrible things you think about yourself can never be true. They can't be. You are an aspect of all that is. Your beingness, your existence is ordained. Ordained. If you weren't meant to be here, you wouldn't be here. If you weren't meant to exist, you would not exist. But you really can make the process very enjoyable. Because if you just back up a little bit, remember the painting? Just bring your nose away from the canvas a little bit. Remember, this is the waking dream. You entered forgetfulness so you could have an experience. So have that experience. Feel those emotions. Feel them completely. When you're angry, be angry. When you're frustrated, be frustrated. In fact, do it to the exclusion of everything else until you can do it no longer. Beat up on a pillow for as long as it takes for you to completely feel it. And you will soon get to a point that you cannot sustain that emotion. But once you've allowed the emotion to exist, once you have not invalidated it by pushing it away, by saying, this can't exist because I'm a spiritual person, I'm not allowed to have feelings of anger, I'm not allowed to be upset. That's a crock too. You're here to have an experience. But if there's any wobble left, if you're wobbling around any old beliefs that you're still carrying, I guarantee you they're going to come up for you. And instead of running away scared, instead of looking away, look them straight in the eye and relax. Because this is the setup, remember? You set it all up this way. So relax, step back a little bit. Know who you are. Know that in discarding those old beliefs that no longer serve you, that you are opening yourself up for more consciousness to pour in, for more of your authentic self to take its rightful place. And eventually, you'll get to a point where you just don't have any errant beliefs to deal with anymore. Now, if you're anything like me, that seems like a long ways off. But it really isn't. It's just a matter of being aware in every single moment. All of this, folks, is about being aware in every single moment, of not throwing anything away, of being self-aware, fully present in every moment of your day. That's the trick. When you can do that and you know what you're doing in every single moment, then you're not feeling bad and you don't know why. You'll know exactly why. And then you'll know that if you feel bad about something, that there's a belief beneath that you need to look at. And then you will enjoy sorting through your beliefs until you find it. And you go, aha, there you are. Let's look at you, little belief. What is it about you that is bringing me out of alignment? Then you get to decide if it's yours or not. If it's your belief, it will never be your belief. It will be something you picked up somewhere, but it won't be yours. You know how I know that? Because the authentic self, the true you, doesn't hold that belief. You'll find it for yourself. In fact, you'll get to a point where you will happily come across something that upsets you. You go, ooh, what could this be? Bring it on. This is something that is new that I haven't thought about. This is something that triggered me, that pinged me. You'll welcome it. You'll run towards it because you will know that on the other side of that is more of you. Oh, it's such a fun game bringing yourself into alignment, folks. It really is. Especially if you have someone that you can work with. And when you're both playing at the same level, and you can reflect back to each other what you need to know about each other, what you need to see about your own beliefs, then you can really move. That's what I've had the joy of doing for the last 4 months with Debbie. We've really had a wonderful opportunity to reflect to each other such beautiful expansion as we discover more of ourselves. And it has been fun and it has been exciting. And it's been so affirming to see the process work, to see the idea of beliefs showing themselves, bringing themselves into the light so that we can examine them and bring ourselves more into alignment. Speaking of bringing ourselves into alignment, we're going to take a few-minute break. I'm going to fill up my cup here. And let's see. Trying to see what we might play here. For Rich Ann, I promise. Okay, Rich Ann, I won't play Flower Duet. Debbie's laughing here. Let's see. Celestial Reiki 1, Quiet Space. Ooh. All right. We're going to play a few minutes of this. I'm going to take a quick break and get a drink. And then I'll be back, and we'll finish up the show. Stay tuned. This is the Enlightenment Evolution Network. You're listening to Philip Mollica's Consciousness Evolution Hour. Hope you enjoyed the first hour. I certainly did. We'll be back in just a few minutes. So sorry, folks. I was muted. I've been talking for the last 5 minutes and didn't realize I was muted. So sorry. Welcome back to the Consciousness Evolution Hour. I'm Philip Mollica. I don't remember everything I just said, but I'll try to cover it again. One thing that I'm very excited about is tomorrow morning I'm leaving with Debbie for Vermont, New Hampshire for an Elias group session over the weekend. how exciting. We're going to have a group session Saturday, and Monday it looks like we're going to have a private session with Marianis and Elias. That's going to be very exciting. The Elias energy has been very important to me and Debbie, and has been very important in our growth and expansion that we've had here since we've come together. Elias, along with Seth and Bashar, and I made a joke earlier that you couldn't hear, so I'll repeat it, and Abraham, not Esther's Abraham, but the Abraham energy. And the only reason I single that out is not that I don't like Esther. I like Esther very much. But there are some filters there that I don't get when I'm talking to Abraham. So I just thought I'd differentiate that. But all of those energies, Seth, Elias, Abraham, Bashar, they're all here with us all the time, very supportive of us. We truly enjoy the growth and expansion we get, not only from our interactions with reading the Seth books, from studying the Elias transcripts, from listening to the Bashar videos, watching those, but also in our private moments where we are receiving guidance. And we know that all of those energies are here in support of us. It really is an amazing journey to walk through, as I said, what we're doing in the shift, the ascension, if you want to call it that. We haven't really come up with a good word for it. It's definitely a change. It's an evolution of consciousness, which is how I settled on the name of the radio show and the name of the Facebook group and the name of my meetup group. It's an evolution of our consciousness into another level of consciousness, a level of awareness of who we are. But I did want to take a moment and talk about relationships for a moment, because everybody's looking for a relationship, more or less. Well, I suppose I can't speak for everybody, but I think most people would like to have a nice relationship that they could share with somebody else. What I realized about myself was, and what a lot of us do, is we project our well-being onto another person. In other words, our well-being is dependent on receiving love and or adoration from another being. And I realized that I had gone through a process of learning how to love myself and not requiring approval, adoration from another, and loving myself enough to fill all those holes. And I had some holes, and I think we all do. I think it's a part of physical life where we are taught or we learn one way or another that our well-being, that our goodness, that our being the best we can is dependent on pleasing somebody else and having their approval, or love or adoration, or all three. And as long as one thinks that they need fixing or finishing or fulfilling from another, they will always be disappointed, because you will never find that if you don't have it within yourself to begin with. No one else completes you. You are a complete package. You are a whole being. You are a unique aspect or spark of all that is. So if you can learn how to love yourself, how to fill those gaps, how to fill those holes in your heart, in your stomach, in your head, to fill them with your own self-love, to love yourself so much to leave no space empty, having to be filled by another, then, and only then, are you ready to have a relationship with somebody else. Otherwise, you will constantly be looking for the approval of another, and it will never fill the hole. They will never be able to do enough for you. Since it's law of attraction, you'll be attracting the same type of person to you, so you will never be able to provide for them enough love to fill the holes in them. Now, the amazing thing was for me that once I got to that point, almost immediately, Debbie showed up in my life. And I have to tell you, from the very first meeting we had, which was just a meeting, just a get-together, neither one of us had any idea of anything more than that. We met at such a high level, such a high frequency, that we immediately knew that there was something much, much bigger to this, and that we had set this up on purpose as a means of coming together. The next thing we quickly realized is that we had met on such a high frequency that we didn't have to play the 3D game with each other. We didn't have to play the karmic game with each other. There was no karma there. This was not a karmic relationship. Neither one of us had to be here. Neither one of us had anything to play out with one another. When I talk of a karmic relationship, it's the idea of, I have this thing that I wanted to explore from the level of the oversoul, and so I set up a relationship in order to have a particular kind of experience that will bring out ideas, thoughts, and feelings, which I will then have to sort through and deal with until I can come clean about what it means to me. It's a reflective thing. Now, that's not to say that Debbie and I don't reflect to each other. We reflect to each other beautifully, but we're reflecting to each other at this amazingly high frequency. So it's like bouncing off each other constantly higher and higher and higher and higher. It's an amazing experience. And literally did not have to go through any ideas of 3D and what a relationship should look like. The old ideas of a 3D relationship. Haven't been through any of that. Completely unnecessary. And the result of that has been that we get to spend our days in expansion, in discovering more of who we are by reflecting to each other the love we have for ourselves. I want you to hear that. We're reflecting to each other the love we have for ourselves. It doesn't just happen. You have to allow it. You have to allow another to reflect to you the love you feel for yourself. And if you don't have that love for yourself, nobody else can reflect it back to you. They will always reflect you the lack that you feel, the emptiness that you feel, if you don't love yourself. Think about that. That's quite a paradox. All we can do is reflect back to the other person, them. That's what a relationship is. So if you want to come together in a relationship, you want somebody who will reflect to you the best of you and will reflect to you what you need to know about yourself. And if you love yourself, if you honor all that is by giving yourself unconditional love, and then you meet someone at a level, at a frequency that is high enough, then you can reflect to each other that love. It's a beautiful circumstance. It's a beautiful relationship. It's something that I never knew existed. I didn't think it was possible. I never expected to be in a relationship again. Not like this. And I know Debbie didn't either. It was a shock to both of us. A very pleasant shock, but a shock nonetheless. So I've had the joy, the amazing opportunity to do this with Debbie for the last 4 months, and it continues to be wonderful, and will continue to be. And we're going to talk a lot more about relationships in that sense. But something I did want to bring up, there's a couple of, something that may be on a lot of people's minds that I wanted to talk about, and that's about body changes as we move through the shift. You can call them ascension symptoms if you like. I suppose that's fitting. But the idea is that our bodies are changing all the time to accommodate the shift. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of us who are involved in this are aware of changes in our body, in our physicalness. Great changes, sweeping changes. And one of two things is happening. If you're in a shitty place, your health is getting really poor because you cannot sustain that negative energy in the new framework. So if you're in a shitty place and you're unhappy, it's going to affect you physically, and it's going to happen fast. We create our bodies on the fly. We think of it in terms of birth and death and everything in between, and that our body goes through this process. But the fact is that our body is created anew in each moment by us. So if you can begin to ease up a little bit on yourself, if you can love yourself more, if you can give yourself unconditional love, and you are raising your frequency, raising your consciousness, you will notice physical changes in your body, very profound. So I want to just take a moment and suggest that, again, as I mentioned before, instead of asking what's wrong, ask what's right. Because you will be noticing of the changes. And they may feel like something's wrong. But I can give you example after example after example of changes in my body that I could typify as being something was wrong with me. I could categorize it as that. But really what it is our body adjusting to the new framework. And we are gaining new physical abilities eyesight improving, hearing improving. Oh, and if you still think when you hit 40 or 50 that your body begins to disintegrate, that's bullshit, folks. That's a belief. It's not true. In fact, our whole collective has the ability to instantly change over to where we can live for hundreds of years. Instantly change. Right now. And many of us going down a path that we're going to live well beyond what's considered an average lifespan. We're going to have that option. You know, the number one thing that will kill your body is stress. What is stress? Being out of alignment with yourself. Do yourselves a favor, folks. Pay attention to your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. When you feel something that jumps out, that's out of alignment, you want to examine it. You want to discover the belief that's underneath it, and you want to let it go. The more you do that, the more you're going to be able to move further up the frequency ladder. And bones and toes and eyeballs and teeth. All kinds of crazy ass shit is going to be happening to your body. So don't go running off to the doctor. Oh, I take that back. If you have a belief in doctors in the medical profession, then run off to the doctor. But you might want to just consider that maybe nothing's wrong and maybe everything is right. Maybe it's a sign of your movement. Absolutely guarantee you my eyesight is better than it was 10 years ago. My hearing is better than it was 10 years ago. My body is in better shape than it was 10 years ago. Everything about me is better than it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, last year. I'm not deteriorating. I'm getting better. Everything is getting better. You know why? Number one, because we're going to be able to live longer. Number two, because we're going to become aware of things we weren't aware of before physically. Do you know that out of all the data that surrounds us, think of terms of your physical outer created reality, of all the data that's around us, we are aware at any given moment of about 2% of that data. Do you realize that we're rubbing elbows with parallel worlds that exist in our same physical space? You're rubbing elbows with other dimensions. You're rubbing elbows with other timelines. You're rubbing elbows with other incarnations of yourself. You're rubbing elbows with beings from other planets. All here. It's all available to us. It's not a matter of them landing a spaceship in the backyard and coming out and saying hello. They're already here. They fill our skies. We just can't see them because we haven't raised our frequency, our consciousness up high enough to become aware of them. All the data is here. It's here for the taking. We just need to become more aware of it. So as you raise your consciousness, I'm going to repeat a term that Bashar used, expect the unexpected. And we talked about this last time. Expect the unexpected in that anytime something looks out of sync, out of a little bit off kilter, draw your attention to it, because that's where your cues are. That's where the clues are. That's where your keys are. There is so much around us already. Parallel lives, other incarnations, other races of beings from around the universe, from around the galaxy, other spiritual energies from non-physical, relatives and loved ones. All these places, if you will, are places we rub elbows with right here, right where you're sitting, or standing, or driving. All that data is there, and we're becoming more aware of it. And that's why our bodies are changing. Our bodies are becoming more to accommodate the growth in our consciousness. Because really, it is our consciousness that is growing. We're allowing more of it. We're allowing ourselves awareness of more of ourselves. Remember, outer created reality is engulfed in non-physical. I think of it as a soup. It looks like we have objects and empty space, but really it's a soup that is our true nature, and we're projecting out an apparent physical reality from that consciousness soup that literally surrounds us. Literally. I had that dream, that vivid dream, lucid dream about, the ship's landing and meeting my hybrid daughter and my other hybrid children. And in the dream, when they came from the ship, they were in the air and they were in like pods, like rows of pods, almost individual pods. And they were in the air, and then they came down to the ground. Before they came down to the ground, they like all melded together in this like soupy fog that engulfed them. And then they sort of descended onto the earth in front of me, and I was able to walk into this, where all those beings were. And that's kind of the same idea of what this outer created reality actually is. It's a soup of consciousness that's made to look very real to us, very convincing. So our bodies are changing to allow for our greater awarenesses of all this data that's around us. All you need to do is relax. And here's an idea. Relax your reasoning and logical mind. Don't be so quick to call things true or not true, real or not real. Just give your physical mind a break. Just tell it to take a powder for a minute. And when something happens that looks off kilter, that appears just slightly out of line, out of phase, don't immediately look to your reasoning mind, your logical mind, to explain it to you. Because the moment you do that, the universe will give you a reasonable or logical explanation that will explain it to satisfy you. Because it doesn't judge it. It doesn't judge how you wish to see things. It does not judge your free will. The universe provides. So when you come across something that's out of kilter, that's out of phase, and the moment you hear your reasoning, logical mind searching frantically for an explanation, tell it, you know what? Just relax for a minute. Let's just let this soak in for a moment. And the moment you do that is when the magic happens. That's when you look out and go, oh, I wasn't expecting that. And then tell yourself, expect the unexpected. Because there's going to be all kinds of unexpected but wonderful things coming for all of us. I'm telling you, in the next couple of years, be on the track you want to be on. You can have whatever experience you wish to have, but there's an experience here that's waiting for you that's extraordinary. And if you allow yourself, if you just allow your reasoning and logical mind to just give it a break, you will see amazing things. See, hear, know, feel amazing things. It's almost a daily occurrence for me. It happens so often, I don't take it for granted, definitely. I appreciate every one. But you know, they can be the most profound circumstance to the most mundane circumstance. But if you let the universe show you, it will show you that everything is magical. And that really is the key word. We're moving into a magical time. This is the time that stories are written about. We are the people that those stories are written about. This is a time of courage, of being willing to let go of what you know for what you don't know. And what you'll find out is you knew it all along. Because you will discover who you really are. And we're all on that path of discovering more of ourselves. Bashar said in the video we watched last night, he said, your whole civilization can be summed up in 2 words. Know thyself. We are the courageous entities who chose to come here in forgetfulness to remember who we really are. It's a time of courage. It's a time of heroes. It's a time of stories, beautiful stories of accomplishment, of love, of discovery, stories of magic. This is the time we're moving into. And every single one of you is the hero of that story, because you are all masters. You are the masters of limitation. And it took courage and bravery for you to come here in forgetfulness, to do this, to tear yourself away from the bosom of Source, to live in separation and individuality, to further expand all that is through your discovery. Feel that power within you. Know the authority of your own being. Become what you came here to be, which is you, not anybody else. You came here to be you. Honor yourself. Honor all that is. Honor the universe. For your existence is ordained. I think with that, we'll close the show tonight. I hope that my words and some of the ideas and concepts that I've talked about tonight have landed with some of you. I hope that I've brought into your awareness the idea of how powerful you are and how big you are. Because if I don't do anything else, I want you to love yourself the way you are loved by God, because that's what you are. Thank you once again for tuning in tonight. I'm Philip Mollica. You've been listening to the Consciousness Evolution Hour. I want to send my deepest love and gratitude to everyone at the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 Facebook group. Thank you, my dears. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to express my authentic self and to share my thoughts with you tonight. You can find me at the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 Facebook group. You can also find me on meetup.com at the Consciousness Evolution group. We have live meetups here in Clarkston, Michigan, first and third Tuesdays of the month. 27 people this past one, 26 the week before, the time before. Amazing people showing up. Amazing. Self-empowered, self-aware, fully present, beautiful, beautiful energies. And I can feel all you out there who are listening tonight. And I want to thank you for your participation. And tell you that I love you dearly for allowing me to do what brings me the greatest excitement. I'll be back live next week, Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I am certain that I will have some amazing stories about my visit with Elias, with Debbie this weekend. I'm so excited to take a road trip. We are going to have a blast and get to talk to Elias. Oh, yeah. So I want you all to have a wonderful night, a wonderful weekend. You can also find me on YouTube. Look up Philip Mollica on YouTube. I'm less than a month away from my quarantine being lifted, and I'll be able to post more videos, more Seth reading, more archives of these shows. Have a beautiful evening. And a fond and lovely good evening to all of you. See you next week.